There goes my hopes of Drew Lock being good. And the Broncos' chances of finishing in third place. Back, everybody, to Weekend Review in Sports. My name is James Irvin. Today, before we get into the Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater stuff and the Denver Broncos starting quarterback situation, we're going to talk about other starting quarterback situations that were announced. And the both that were announced, I absolutely like, and I think were the right moves for their team. But if you're not subscribed already, make sure to do so. Leave a like on the video. And without further ado, let's get right back into it. So the other quarterbacks that were announced starting for week one were, of course, Trevor Lawrence. You're not wasting the number one overall pick on him for him to sit on the bench. No shocker to anyone. And Jameis Winston. And this one was kind of a shocker to me, but also the way Jameis played in the preseason absolutely was not. What I thought the Saints were going to do this year, they're going to have Jameis be like this main starter, but Taysom would come in and take snaps like he did with Breeze and run his thing. I still think Taysom Hill is going to be good, and he's going to be an effective game plan for how the Saints use him, but he's going to be tight end. He may throw the ball a couple times because he's just Taysom Hill, and you can do whatever you want with him. But, I did thought at the beginning of the year, just the way Sean Payton talked to Taysom Hill, you would think it'd be him. No, Jameis Winston absolutely proved himself. I think Jameis Winston is going to have a really good year. He balled out in Tampa Bay. He led the league in passing yards, and I'm pretty sure close to touchdowns. Only bad thing was 30 interceptions. He's making crazy throws. I think Jameis Winston is going to be good. Just depends on if the rest of the team around him is good, especially with him not having his number one receiver. But him and Winfrey, they look pretty good together. And Traquan Smith isn't terrible. But let's get to the reason why we're all here. The big story of it all is Drew Lock couldn't beat out Teddy Bridgewater. This is bad. That's bad for me. And probably for the Broncos. Because at this point in his career, Bridgewater led the Panthers to a 5-11 record. Sure, they didn't have McCaffrey, but 5-11? Teddy Bridgewater is a journeyman backup. The Broncos' offense doesn't have any player like Christian McCaffrey. Melvin Gordon is bad, and I think Javonte Williams is going to be a stud in this league, but they're not Christian McCaffrey. I think the receiving duo is honestly could be the same with Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. They have a better tight end than Carolina did, Noah Fant, but it just still doesn't look like that much of an improvement from an offensive standpoint, and I don't think Teddy Bridgewater can do it. I think about week 6, if you're 2-4 or 3-3, maybe a couple more losses down the road, you start Drew Lock because he is a young kid who has time to develop. At this point in his career, Teddy Two Gloves, awesome nickname, is a journeyman backup. He's with Minnesota, and he looked really good. Sadly, he got hurt. Then he was with the Saints, and he was a journeyman backup, and he went 5-1 in that that start, which earned him a contract in Carolina, where he went 5-11, and the Carolina Panthers have seen enough of him. Now, he's the nice guy. He's like Tyrod Taylor, right? Everybody loves Tyrod, but you really wouldn't want him starting games for you, but he's not the worst backup in the world. He can win you some games, but I don't think he's going to lead you to the playoffs anytime soon. But we'll see and he sadly has to be the one to endure the Texans. So, sorry, Tyrod Taylor. But everybody likes Tyrod. He can win you some games, and he's not the worst backup, but he may take you to the playoffs in the NFC least if you get like 8 or 9 wins, and that can win you the division. But I don't think he can win you a playoff game. Maybe win a wild card game or two. So I think you should have started Drew Lock because I think this was his absolute make or break it year. And if Drew Lock sucked, then you would get putting in Teddy Bridgewater. But not if Teddy Bridgewater sucks. He's not going to suck. He's just going to be average, right? He's going to be an average quarterback. So if Drew Lock was bad, then you would get it. You would put Bridgewater in, probably tank, and go either get Sam Howell or Spencer Rattler. You never know. They may be that bad. I don't think they will be. But it just felt like this was Drew Lock's year, right? I felt like this was going to be Drew Lock's year to have a breakout season. And the Denver Broncos took that away from me. The Denver Broncos took that away from Drew Lock. Can't say the rest of that because we're kind of a PG show. Could have been the starting quarterback. He could have. And he could have had a breakout year. And I had loved Drew Lock coming out of Missouri. I thought he was going to be better Well, I thought he'd be the 4th best quarterback coming out of that draft class. My rankings, by the way, Murray, Jones, Haskins, Locke. I've kind of been right on that, so I'll take my W where I can take my W. I thought Daniel Jones was going to be better than Dwayne Haskins, and I was right. Boy, was I right. So far. But they took it away from me. I wanted Drew Lock to succeed so badly. I wanted him to succeed. Drew Lock did not succeed in Denver up to this point. Sure, they didn't bless him with the best head coach, but he got a defensive coordinator who isn't the best head coach up to this point. And yeah, it just was a bad situation. He was good, and then his shoulder gave out on him. And this year, I thought, going into his 3rd year, thought he was going to be better. I just really thought he was going to be a lot better this year. I thought he was going to be improved. But he wasn't. Drew Lock wasn't improved, and I wish he was. I so badly wish he was. I loved his energy in Missouri. They got the rap video going around, just having a good time on the bench. You know, he was amazing. But he didn't play football amazingly. I still think the shoulder injury was nagging him. I thought this year was going to be the best. So when Teddy Bridgewater goes like 2-4 and 3-3 with that Denver Broncos team around him, you put in Drew Lock, you see what you have. If neither of those two are good, you tank for a year. You get the number 1 quarterback coming out of that year. Bryce Love? Bryce Love would be eligible. Clear for the draft. So you could get Bryce Love. And I love Bryce Love. Love. But Teddy Bridgewater isn't bad. Teddy Two Gloves. He can win you some games. Probably 6-7 wins on the year. But with Drew Lock, I feel like the upside was more there. You had more time to develop him, and I just felt like this was the bad decision for the organization. Because you had all the time in the world to develop. This was the good development year. He hadn't really played that much preseason, and he looked good for against the Minnesota Vikings backups that he did. So I felt like this could be his year. He could finally do it. He had full OTAs. He'd have a full offseason. He could be the guy. But you're not developing him. You're choosing a journeyman backup to not. It's stopping development of a young quarterback who, if he was bad this year, then yeah, get him out, right? But the Giants stuck with Daniel Jones, and I could argue those two have been playing on the same level. I don't know why you didn't stick with them. It doesn't make sense for your organization. But if you wanted to be mediocre this year, that is what you're going to get from Teddy Bridgewater. No offense to Teddy, it's just that where he is at this point in his career. Jameis Winston, I love starting, and Trevor Lawrence is no shock to anyone on how he's starting. Let's hope he doesn't get injured by that terrible, terrible offensive line. And I hope Jameis balls out, because I thought Tampa should have kept him. Hindsight 2020, good decision to move off. But I still think he'll do great. Sean Payton, in that same organization, but I don't think they're going to win as many games. Standing predictions and record coming soon. So stay tuned for that. Make sure to like and subscribe. And of course, thank you for listening.